What's up, guys? So this is the second time I film this video. Not exactly this video, but I filmed a video about the order maybe like 3 weeks ago, and it was already going to export, and it was cutting the audio off when it would render and stuff, and I'm like, when I did the video was when they released the 35-minute demo during the PlayStation experience thing in Las Vegas. Before I talk about the demo and the trailer, I want to talk about why I'm looking forward to the order. Oh my god, MD, you always have these high expectations, and what if they let you down? I get that type of comment all the time because of how excited I get about games. I'm easily amused anyways. I'm just that type of person. Here's the point though. The point isn't not to get excited. At least when it comes to me, this is how I take it. I like to look forward to good games. I like to be excited for games that I think are going to be pretty good. But I think the point is not to place your judgment on that excitement. The excitement is there because I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to play this game. But when it comes to the judgment, I'm not going to judge the game until I've played it. Just because I'm excited about a game doesn't mean that I'm saying it's going to be the most amazing game ever. Nothing could make this game be horrible. I'm not saying that. That's the point here. That's why a lot of people get excited about a game and they're like, oh, we place high expectations on it, and then it sucks afterwards, and they get all bummed out because they mixed excitement with it's going to be a good game. I am excited, but I always have in mind that it might be good, it might be bad. I keep an open mind. The excitement is there, it's just part of my personality, but I keep an open mind. When it comes to my channel, I am the type of person that is the review comes after I've played the game. When it comes to the Order 1886, I have played the demo. I played the E3 demo, and I spent a good amount of time watching the other demo, the demo that was played during the press conference, the one with the lichen, where they showed off the lichen for the first time. I watched that demo as well, the full thing, so not just the little piece that they showed off. The demo that I played was the White Castle demo, the one where you're fighting these dudes on the top, and then you have to go help this guy on the floor, and you drag him into this one room, and Percival gets scraped here, and he has to drink the black water. That's the demo that I played. So now that that's all out of the way, let me talk about why I'm excited about the Order 1886. First and foremost, the one thing that excited me the most is that it's a new IP. It's not a remake, it's not a prequel, it's not a sequel, it's not a remaster, it's a new IP. That was what caught my eye before I knew anything about the game. I was like, oh my god, is this something new? The gaming industry right now is in so much need of new stuff. Now, this isn't automatically going to make the game amazing. It's not. But that already, it makes it stand out because we're in lack of it. The gaming industry right now is lacking original IPs, new IPs. It's all the same stuff over and over and over. And as great as some of those sequels are those remasters, those remakes, all that, as great as some of those could be, we need some new stuff. A more personalized thing is the genre. I've said this many times before about the Order 1886. That Gothic genre is just, it's music to my ears. I love the Gothic genre. I've loved it in literature. I've loved writing that genre. It's something that for some reason is really hard to do nowadays. And I was thinking about it. I was like, what is so hard about the Gothic genre to get it right? Because a lot of movies, shows, it's hard to nail that genre. And I was thinking about when I was in school studying that genre during like the Victorian age, like say Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley, stories like Dracula, Frankenstein, Heart of Darkness, Dorian Gray, all those stories. What is it that made those stories so great, that have just become classics when it comes to the Gothic genre? And I think what it is that those stories weren't really about monsters. Dracula isn't really about a monster, this vampire. Bram Stoker was telling not only a story about a vampire, but he was telling a story about a society. He was telling a story about a time period, about the fears that people had during that time. What manifested that was this vampire, Dracula. During that time in that society, people were afraid of outsiders, of people that weren't the same race, the same culture, the same background. They were afraid of that mixture, and they were going to come at night and take away their women. And that's what Dracula would do. And then Frankenstein, it's not about the monster. It's not about Frankenstein. That story represents a really hard time, a really sad aspect of Mary Shelley's life. A lot of these stories from back then, when it comes to the Gothic genre, it wasn't to scare people with monsters like it is now. Now, scary stories, horror, Gothic, it's being represented in a way that it's about the horror. It's about scaring you with monsters. It's about what goes bump in the night. It's about the vampire. It's about the werewolf. It's about the zombie. It's not about telling a story with these things representing something much more than just this supernatural thing. I mean, if you look at the genre, it's full of a lot of stuff that is like what ifs, you know, in a darker world, in a world of fear. It's filled with monsters and stuff like that. But as much as you could say, okay, well, that's not real, you could still connect to those stories. You could still connect to those characters. I mean, in Frankenstein, that book is genius, and it's not the only book that has done this, but it's genius because it's like, who's the real monster here? Is it Frankenstein or is it the monster? And you almost feel more pity. You almost feel more connection. You almost relate more to the monster than to the actual person. I think that aspect of connection when it comes to emotions so real, like fear, using fear to find something out about ourselves and not just to scare us, that's what I loved about that genre. So I think that's why it's so hard to nail that genre nowadays, at least in my opinion. And segueing back to the Order, I'm seeing a little bit of that in the Order, and that's what makes me excited, that it's going back to that old school Gothic feel, where it's taking something scary, it's taking something like a lichen, like a werewolf, like this mutation of human, and it's telling you a story about yourself. It's telling you a story about, are we still human? What do we need to lose from ourselves in order to fight the darkness, in order to fight this evil? And not just this evil that comes from nowhere, but this evil that used to be us. And another thing that captivates me so much and makes me feel this connection to the old school type of Gothic storytelling is that the knights themselves, they are the ones that are fighting these monsters, but they themselves lost so much of their humanity by drinking the black water that gives them more strength, and they heal faster and stuff like that. They've had to give up so much. They're fighting for humanity, but at what cost? You know, like what is it doing to them? And then when it comes to all the technology, Nikola Tesla says in one of the trailers, he's like he's kind of he's the one that's creating all these weapons, but he's kind of like worried that these weapons, as much as they will save us, they're destroying us. We are fighting these monsters when we ourselves are becoming something not human. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing that. It's getting me excited. If it doesn't, it's a shame. Oh well. But if it does, that's going to be awesome. Another thing that is directly connected to the genre, which is pretty much what you see, the visuals, the setting, the ambience, and also what you hear, the music. The music so far, they have Ready at Dawn released one of the soundtrack, one of the tracks in the soundtrack. I believe it's called Night's Theme or something like that, and it sounds so good just by listening to the music. You don't even have to know anything about this game. Just by listening to it, you are already being transferred into that time period, and even that feeling, that sensation that something is not right, where it's like something is a bit unsettling. I think the music is awesome. I'm gonna have the link in the description so you guys could go listen if you haven't already. And just the colorization, just the visuals. It's that gray tint. It's that old London that it looks cold. It looks gloomy. Just the color, just the tint already makes you know where you are, when you are. You're already feeling the setting, you're hearing it, so it's like transporting you. So I think they did a great job with the visuals and the audio, because they really do transfer you to that era, to that genre, it's so cool. I love it. I love the way it looks. I love the way it sounds. Another thing that excited me was the technology in the game. That mix of old school England in 1886, and then you see these weapons that don't even exist now in 2015, and you're like, wait, that blew my mind when I saw the first trailer or the first teaser in E3 2013, I think it was. When they turn on the arc gun, I was like, I think that was probably the first the spark where I was like, I need this game. It also gives us as a player, it as a game, and not a means of storytelling, but a game. It's going to give us some really cool experiences to play around with some crazy weapons and some awesome little gizmos and gadgets. You know, we as gamers love that type of thing. The characters. You guys know that my biggest focus in a game is the characters. How much character development is there? Or are there multiple characters? Is it just one character? If there's multiple characters that are being developed, that's my favorite, especially when they're together. They're like, you know, they have relationships with each other, and you're not out on the field by yourself. I love games that take you out on the field with a group, that you could hear them talking to each other, because it all of a sudden opens up from it being just this single player experience where you're just, and I'm not talking about single player, multiplayer. I mean, just you as the character, you're just there alone, waiting until you encounter the story or whatever. The story goes along with you, because a lot of times the characters will be talking to you. So you are constantly experiencing character development. You are constantly being told who this character is and how this character relates to other people, and that's what I love. There are different types of gamers. A lot of gamers prefer immersion. They prefer themselves feeling like the character. They don't want anybody to tell them who that character is. They want to feel like that character. That's why a lot of people prefer first person, especially when it comes to RPGs and stuff like that. They want to be that character. I'm the other way around. I want to know that character. I want to know, it's kind of like I'm reading a book. I've said it before. When I'm playing a game, it's like I'm reading a book. I want to know about the characters. I want to know who that person is, how they react, that this and that. I don't play as myself. So being able to have the other knights with you on missions and stuff is just, that got me super excited as well. I was like, yes, I love that. And then, of course, this other one is just an added bonus. When I see a developer passionate of what they're doing, passionate for their game, just hearing them, especially when I get to meet them, that's something that I enjoy doing the most. Like when I go to E3, I love going to E3 to talk to these people and not so much to play games or anything like that. That's not why I go there. Like a lot of people go there to play the demos and stuff. I go to E3 to talk to the developers because that experience is just amazing to me, because you get to see these people one-on-one and you get to hear them. And not always, but sometimes when you meet a developer and you see that they're fans of their game almost just as much as you, and they're like, oh my god, this game is awesome. And you're like, they're making this game. Like they're making this game and they're just as excited as I am. Or, it's crazy. I love seeing that. It's just it's so contagious, and it makes you appreciate that game so much more. Meeting these guys from Ready at Dawn, a lot of them at E3, was one of the highlights of any E3 I've ever been to, because it was so mind-blowing. It was so humbling to see how much passion they have, to see how much they love their fans, to see how much they care about what we think. It was so funny because they were like, okay, they had seen my videos before, and they were like, okay, you sit down and play the demo. So I sat down and I started playing the demo, and I turn around and I see them just standing there like, I'm like, oh my god. And but it was because they wanted to see that reaction, because they get that reaction all the time. They get to play the game all the time whenever they want to, but they don't always see an outsider, a gamer, like a random gamer, some crazy girl play their game. So they wanted to see the reaction. It's important to them to see what people are feeling, what people are thinking when they're playing their game for the first time. So seeing that kind of interest, that kind of enthusiasm is just, it was awesome. I was like, man, these guys are awesome. I already was excited, but seeing who's making this game just kind of almost gave me this ease. The people that are working on this game definitely want it to be good. They're not just like, oh, whatever, we're making this game, and you don't really see that interest, and it kind of unsettles you, where you're like, okay, these people probably in it just for the money. They don't really care. They're probably just going to rush it or whatever. It's just a job to them. No, not these guys. Ready at Dawn, it's not just a job for them. They love what they do. I've seen it firsthand, and it's awesome. So those are some of the reasons why I'm excited about the Order 1886. Now let me talk a little bit about the popular concerns. The one that I don't really like to get into, because it's just this huge debate that really gets me so tired. I seriously feel like I want to just go to sleep, because I'm like, oh my god, here we go again. Is the whole 30 FPS versus 60 FPS. I'm not even going to get into that, because I'm going to be completely honest right now. I am not a PC player, so I think that's where the big difference is. Now, I'm not saying just PC players could see the difference, but I don't really see the difference between 30 FPS and 60 FPS. And I think it's because I'm not a PC player. Console players are just barely getting, unless you count like I think the Wii U has some 60 FPS and stuff, but I don't play on the Wii U, so that doesn't apply to me either. As long as it runs, as long as it looks good and it works good, I don't care if it's just slightly blurry when you turn around. I have played it and it looks fine, it runs fine, it looks amazing. So Yeah, I don't see the big issue. It's gonna run at 30 FPS for those of you that don't know. Another popular concern is the AI. The AI feels a bit wonky. These people say that played the demo for 35 minutes. Now, some of them were fair enough and said that this was an incomplete version of the game, which I was like, exactly. This is not a complete version of the game, so you can't judge the AI yet because it is still being worked on. The concerns that I've heard is some enemy would like bleed into a wall or something, or the enemy was just waiting there, just standing there, and then just turns around and attacks you, or something like that. Like, it just felt weird. So I'm like, okay, it's a demo. Now this next one is towards the game. A popular concern is that the Order 1886 has quite a few QTEs. The game has those usual QTEs where you'll see X and then you have to press it. If you don't press it, you missed or whatever. Those QTEs, and it also has a different style where it's kind of like an environmental reaction moment where you look around. It goes kind of slow. It starts going slow, kind of like in Beyond Two Souls. It goes kind of slow, and you start to look around, and you see something that you can interact with, say a bottle, and you look over here, and there's something over here. There's like a pole, you could interact with a pole or the bottle. You choose. Do you want to slam them with the bottle, or do you want to poke them with the pole or whatever? You guys know I'm not a huge fan of QTEs. I hate QTEs, especially when they're like Beyond Two Souls, because Beyond Two Souls didn't even have the X, Y, all that. It was just, move left and move right. And sometimes it was just, you didn't know which was which. It was so confusing to me because I was like, it looks like I have to go left. But it's like, nope, you had to go forward. And it's like, oh my God, there was so much room for error for that system that it was just so bad. I prefer seeing press X, you missed it, okay, that was your fault. So like I said, I'm not a huge fan of QTEs, but I've gotten used to QTEs ever since I started playing PlayStation, because QTEs aren't very they weren't very popular on the Xbox 360. At least the games that I played, there were rarely any QTEs. But a lot of PlayStation games, especially the exclusives, have QTEs or motion sensor and stuff like that. So some people just do not like QTEs, and they're like, I don't even want to play this game because it's a QTE. There's QTEs. You're probably gonna be missing out on a good game just because of some QTEs. But it's not, like I said, it's nothing new to PlayStation. Probably the most popular concern, and leading into the next part of this video, which is my concerns, is cinematic interruptions. The people that have played it for 30 minutes, it was a lot of times they didn't even know, especially with the graphics. I mean, the cinematics and the gameplay is the same. It's not separate. Now where you're like, oh, okay, this is a cinematic. Oh, this is definitely gameplay. No, it's all the same. It all looks the same. It all flows directly. So a lot of times some people were saying that they were playing and they were just sitting there thinking that it was a cinematic, but the character was just standing there not doing anything, and they're like, oh, this is me. But it is a bit concerning with what I've seen to see you in gameplay in the moment, and then all of a sudden you get interrupted by some little cinematic, sometimes pointless, just to show off some moves or whatever. It shows off the character do something, and then it goes right back to you, and you're like, okay. And then you keep playing, and you're into it, and then it cuts off with a cinematic, and the character is getting beat up or whatever, and then it goes right back to you, and you're like, that's why they're called cinematic interruptions, because they're interrupting the gameplay. I don't mind cinematics after gameplay, after this big moment, but if the cinematics are going to keep cutting me off from what I'm doing, that's when I get pissed off. That's when I'm like, it's taking me out of the moment. It's making me feel like I'm playing a game As weird as that sounds, let me explain. I read this one article once that was really, really good, and I was going to make a video, and I might still do it. I was going to make a video on it. I think this was like 2 years ago. I'll look for it and see if I find it. I'll put the link in the description. But it was talking about games and like the immersion of games, and how like different types of games, and how some games would always keep the gamer thinking that this was a game, that you were playing a game, that where you're playing and you're like, I have to go to the bank or whatever, I have to go do this and that when I'm done here. You're not really immersed in the gameplay. You're just playing. And there's other games where you feel like you're in there, like you are in the freaking game. You are so focused on what you're doing that you almost forget that you're playing a game. That's player immersion right there. I love that feeling, and I'm sure a lot of gamers love that feeling when they feel like time just flies and they're like, oh my god, I have to eat. Especially when you're in the moment, when you are in the groove, where you're like, dude, I am nailing this. I'm getting the hang of it. This is so good. The combat, the action, it just has you all in there in the moment. So by being interrupted, that is reminding you that you're not completely in control. With the Order, there is a shooter aspect. You get to go different ways. It's not just, it is scripted. It's not an open, obviously. It's for people that are like, oh, it's a scripted game. Yeah, obviously it is a scripted game. Last of Us was scripted. That's how this game is. It's scripted. It's a story. You're going to be going through that story. They're going to be telling you a story. How you get there, with what I've seen, is you do have some choice, because you do have guns, different guns. Obviously that's a huge thing when it comes to the Order, all this crazy gadgets and gizmos. So you do get to use guns, not like in Beyond Two Souls, where you just were upon moving the damn character. So there is a shooter aspect. There is cover to cover. There is melee. They mix in QTEs. So in this case, what is reminding you that you're not that character, or could be these cinematic interrupts. And I say could be because in one of the demos of the Order 1886, when I was at E3, one of the Ready at Dawn guys was playing the game, and it was the Lycan demo. When they were playing it, those cinematic interruptions were so quick and seamless, because the game, like I said, the gameplay and the cinematics are the same, that you almost didn't even see that it was an interrupt. So I'm hoping that seamlessness between graphics of the gameplay and the cinematics are going to be enough to not snap you out completely. Because imagine if the cinematics and the gameplay looked different. That would have snapped you out completely, like whoosh. But it's all going at the same time, so it could end up looking really cool. When you're reacting as the character, you're not always you don't always look very graceful doing it. And this is a knight, a trained knight, so maybe those cinematics where it shows him, where it shows Galahad doing these things, could be pretty cool. I don't know how it's going to be, because at least I haven't been with the game longer than 10 minutes. So I would love to be able to try it out and actually feel what it feels like for a good while. I would have loved to be able to play that 35-minute demo. But even though it is a concern, it doesn't make me say, oh, I'm not going to buy it. Like, I'm going to wait for a review. No. The one thing that would make me really disappointed would be to see that these cinematic interrupts really do a damage to your experience, where you're like, oh my god, I can't take this anymore, which I doubt. At least when it comes to me, I don't think it's gonna bother me that much to be like, this game sucks. I didn't pre-order the Uber edition that's like $180. I would love that edition, especially the box just looks so cool, and it comes with the Blackwater. I'm like, I got the collector's edition, which is the one below that. The statue that it comes with, I actually prefer that statue more than the one with the lichen, which is in the Uber edition. It's got the lichen and he's attacking Galahad. I prefer the other statue where it's like Galahad behind cover or something like that. It was cool because Dana, Dana, he's such an awesome guy. So nice, so cool. He was the one that was playing. I interviewed him. If you haven't seen that, he was like, "Oh, look what happens if you don't do it in time or whatever. If there is consequence, you know." So he showed me some of the death scenes and stuff. It was really cool to see that there is consequence, because I want to be playing and feel that there's a challenge there, you know? I don't want to just know that I'm whatever, it doesn't matter what you do, you're totally going to be fine. No, I don't like that. I want there to be consequence, and I want to know that what I do matters. A lot of you haven't played it at all. So I want to tell you guys that it feels awesome. In those moments that I had with it, I enjoyed it thoroughly, and it made me really, really want to play the game. That demo with the lichen, I wanted to just sit there and just play it forever. The feeling. That's the biggest thing about the Order 1886. They did such a good job with the ambience. I don't know how the QTEs are going to feel. I don't know what those cinematic interruptions are going to do to my experience. But that feeling, that aura, when you're playing that game, where you're just like, especially when you're alone, when Galahad's alone, because sometimes he's going to be alone, is just, it's so good. Where you're like, oh my god, and you know there's something out there. You know that there's a lichen around. You're just like walking in the darkness, and he's just got this little lantern. I was like, holy mother. Dun, dun, dun. I wanted to let you guys know that it wasn't just all excitement. I do have some concerns that make me wonder how it's going to affect my experience. Like, I am seriously rooting for this game because of those guys that are working on it, because I've seen their passion, and because of the game, those characters look awesome. The story, the genre, the ambience, the music, everything. I am rooting for this game, like 100%. If there was going to be like a parade, the Order 1886 parade, man, I would be on the biggest float. I'd go with a freaking mustache. Oh my god. That needs to happen. I would be on the first float. It would be just a big mustache. Oh, hail to the yes. It's almost out. February 20th. It's almost here. And Ready at Dawn and Sony are doing something freaking awesome. They're giving away all these cool prizes. I was like, really? Until the game releases, I'll put the link in the description. It's a sweepstakes. If you just fill in your information, you just put your username and your date of birth, I think, and that's it. It's just like 4 little things. You just put your email or whatever, and they don't spam you or anything. I still haven't gotten any emails from them, but you're entered into the sweepstakes, and you could get a prize. They're giving prizes, awesome prizes, to a bunch of people until the game is released. I'll also provide a link to the newest trailer, which is the Silent Night trailer. Oh, so good. And then the ending, I was all, I am dying to see the relationship between Galahad and Igraine, which is the woman, the girl knight. Her name is Igraine or Isabeau, because they all have 2 names. Their knight name and their actual name. I want to know the relationship between Galahad and Igraine, and I love that he calls her Izzy. I think it's adorable. But yeah, I'm a fan of Galahad and Izzy. I need to make a ship name. I think he says, "Stay with me," because she's like dying or something, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, I'm gonna freaking die. Anyways, now that I've geeked out enough, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about all this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.